What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. I think we can all agree that this year has been pretty fantastic. We got big stuff like Zelda, cool RPGs like Persona 5, and some really off-the-wall projects like Nier Automata. But along with all the good, we also had some bad. Things that claimed to be awesome and turned out to just be overhyped dumpster fires. This week, I want to take a special look at those. These are my picks of the top 10 most disappointing games of 2017. Number 10. Destiny 2. I'm sure some people will laugh at me for this, but I actually had high hopes for Destiny 2. While the first one certainly had problems, over the course of its 2 years of DLC and updates, the game dramatically improved. For this follow-up, it seemed like they took the lessons learned from that though and just ripped them all to shreds to shove in microtransactions and really sloppy expansions. Even though this has only been on the market for a short time, they've already rushed the first major downloadable content. And stupidly enough, if you don't buy it, you're actually locked out of existing quests. And even if you do buy it, you're still going to be shooting the same few enemies you always were. It's just baffling that they managed to screw up everything about this shooter. Number 9. Drawn to Death. The amazing creator of Twisted Metal, David Jaffe, is a person whose work I really admired. He took a silly concept like car combat and made it a seriously great franchise. In 2017, though, he tried to unveil a totally new idea, a third-person action game based around a teenager's edgy drawings. I hate to say this, but my god is it bad. While the central controls are decent, the maps are super boring, characters are way too cheesy, and some abilities are broken. There's no sense of balance to this at all, which leaves it as a colorless, uninteresting title that clearly wishes to be far more than another forgotten trash heap. Number 8. Yooka-Laylee. It seems like anything made on Kickstarter is kind of a mixed bag. Most of these games get delayed a bunch and end up being released with weird bugs, and unfortunately, Yooka-Laylee is also one of these projects. It somehow feels super rushed even though it got pushed back several times. This was originally intended to be the ultimate spiritual sequel to Banjo-Kazooie, but it slowly became a flawed platformer with some great art and fun levels, but overall quite screwed up. By far my biggest issue is that the camera completely sucks and there is an awful delay on jumping. How do you mistake leaping when your entire game is based around it? I've heard that later patches fixed some of these problems, but at that point I'd already deleted it. Number 7. Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Perhaps the biggest cancer of this year has been pay-to-win mechanics. We're seeing this new age of games that are a full $60, but on top of that, you can spend additional cash just to make the experience easier. Shadow of War was particularly annoying since at a certain point towards the end, it essentially forces you to buy at least a few loot crates. Inside these boxes is orcs that can strengthen your army, and when it comes to the final battle, your options are to stop and grind for 20 hours or just spend $20. It's a decision that sadly I know many fans were bullied into even though they didn't want it. After the original Middle-earth game was one of my favorite titles of 2014, it's crushing to see that the sequel just throws away all that love. Number 6. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. There's honestly a lot I could say about this game because they just made so many missteps, but nothing is more obvious than the simple fact that they didn't add some of the best heroes. This is freaking Marvel vs. Capcom, so where are the X-Men? That's like if you made a movie about the best YouTubers with the word Dreamcast in their name and you only invited someone named Dreamcast Girl. Like, come on, the audience purchasing your product has a vision in their mind and you want to try and deliver that. The fact that you just ignored some of the best heroes that people already grew up with is just ridiculous. And beyond the limited roster, they made a lot of things like the combo system a lot more casual. Normally that kind of thing doesn't bother me too much, but here it genuinely feels like Infinite is stuck on ultra easy mode. With a single game, they managed to destroy a large chunk of the Marvel vs. Capcom community, and now it's leaving hardcore players like me feeling very, very disappointed. Number 5. Super Bomberman R. It's rather hard to deny that the Nintendo Switch has been killing it this year. Ever since its explosive launch, it just keeps breaking records, and yet there was a small blemish on its release. While the initial lineup of games available for this console was really solid, Super Bomberman R was an obvious ripoff shoved out to make some easy profit. Bomberman is a franchise that dates back to the early 80s and has always been known for its solid multiplayer fun. On top of that, the gameplay is just known for how fluid it is. Within minutes of picking it up, you can understand all the rules. Somehow, they jumbled the core systems in this and made R extremely simplistic. Maps are small and very plain, the coolest power-ups are missing, and the speed is way off. The fact that they wanted full price for this game is flat out insanity. Number 4. Sonic Forces. This classic character's had some rough times recently. Sega keeps trying to bring the Blue Hedgehog back in some way, and in August they got their wish with the amazing debut of Sonic Mania. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only time we saw him this year, and the other times we saw him, they weren't quite as good. Let me just be clear right here, Sonic Forces is a total dumpster fire. Levels are short and incredibly poorly designed, the custom character missions are a catastrophe, and the story is a pointless blob of random cutscenes. It seems like 5 different people were each working on this, but none of them could actually talk to each other. At the core of this, there are some interesting ideas, and yet none of them ever shine through. I spent over 10 hours playing this mess to make my video, and even within the first 5 minutes, I knew that I was wasting every second of my time in this world. Number 3. Star Wars Battlefront 2. As a company, Electronic Arts is one of the most powerful names in the business. Their decisions influence the entire industry, and they've become well known for shaking things up by inventing stuff that no one else would have thought of. In this case, though, what they came up with is a total disaster. They decided to make this game very pay-to-win. Like, seriously, the people who paid most would be strongest. What really happened is that leveling up in this game is done by purchasing these special boxes. Within them will give you new guns and new upgrades, that way you get stronger and fight better. However, these are done with in-game cash or real money. Since it's on this list, I think you can assume what happened. They broke the entire game in favor of these boxes. Every single thing you wanted to get, no matter what, required these stupid crates. The backlash they got for such an ignorant system led to a massive boycott, and by current calculations, EA has lost billions of dollars because of this single game. Number 2. Mass Effect Andromeda. There are actually a lot of articles written about this project because it's just such a unique case. This series was one of the greatest and best-selling sci-fi titles of all time. Like, seriously, it was making hundreds of millions of dollars. So what happened? That's kind of what everybody's trying to figure out. Mass Effect Andromeda on its skin looks like it could be a legendary experience. I mean, it takes place in an all-new part of the universe with a new cast of heroes and villains. What's not to love? Well, I guess it comes down to the fact that the story was really sloppy, the writing makes no sense, and it was very clearly unfinished. Facial animations had a really bad habit of freezing up, making characters look like melting puppets. But what makes matters even worse is the fact that, in my opinion, the ending is atrocious. Seriously, you play for about 25 hours and then it just stops. It doesn't give you any sense of fulfillment. How is it that I'm able to rescue all these people on the far end of the universe and not give a shit? I mean, excuse my French, but it really comes down to that. I wanted to care about Mass Effect Andromeda. I went into it with so much hope, and now it's just another game that's famous for failing. Number 1. For Honor. A good setting is really important. You want your game to take place somewhere that really stands out, that challenges the player to rethink what they might have expected. In many ways, For Honor completely nails that. It takes place in an alternate reality where all the greatest warriors from throughout history are all coming together to battle. So what went wrong? Well, a little bit of everything. First and foremost, the combat could be broken really easily. Each of the factions had one class that was particularly overpowered or had certain combos that could just instant kill people. When people figured that out, they didn't want to play anything else. So because of it, developers kept having to chase these flaws down and try and patch them out. It created almost a whack-a-mole system where at all times people were breaking it and they were trying to fix it. That on its own is pretty ridiculous, I think we can all agree, but the real issue at the core of this comes down to the fact that For Honor was obsessed with upgrades, like to such an unhealthy degree. If you wanted to try and get every unlockable in this game, it would take you over 2,000 hours, and that's if you were playing good. There were all these different trees of gear to make it where you could upgrade specific parts of a weapon or buy really expensive costumes, and each one of them was actually dramatically better than the last. This forced you to perpetually try to reach for that next big objective, or, in many people's case, just buy loot crates. I cannot fathom why so many games tried to pass this off this year. Let's be real here. When we look back on 2017, it's going to be remembered as an amazing year with far too many stupid microtransactions. For its almost unlimited potential and aptitude to completely flop, this is my pick as the most disappointing game of 2017. Did your favorite mess not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Whew, man, this has been fun. This has been a very good year, and you know what? I actually haven't gotten a chance to play too much DLC, so I'm going to go back and actually try the Zelda DLC now, and you know what? I need to check out that Neo DLC, so I'm going to go take care of that.
Okay. Don't hurt me, please.
Okay. Do it.
Alright.
Okay. Okay. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.